All right, Huber.
Yo.
11-bit flew me back out to Poland again.
Crazy.
So last year I got to play a little bit of the Altars.
The Altars Beast.
And then a little bit of Frostpunk 2.
Yeah.
And then it was supposed to come out later last year, and then they were like, this is something really special. We want to take our time with it. We want to polish it. We want to do some more stuff. And so I got to play it again this year.
Hell yeah.
But much longer. So like I said, last year was like kind of half the day was Altars.
Yeah.
This year it was a day and a half.
Nice.
Of the Altars. Also, same time as this preview is going up, I did just an audio-only interview with the director, Tomasz, and that's going to be up on patreon.com/easyallies, as well as our podcast feed. So if you listen to our podcast regularly, it'll be up there as a bonus episode. Just a quick chat. Actually, the funny thing is the way when they had like threw me into the interview, like I had barely even like started playing the game yet. It's like, oh, it's your time for the interview. I'm like, I haven't played more than I played last year, but okay. But it's still fun. It actually kind of helped me to see, like talking to him a little bit. It's like had me keep an eye out on some of the stuff there.
Yeah. Can you tell the internet how 1 year of development time is a dramatic deal? Did it feel, was it like, whoa, this feels different than a year ago?
There's definitely some things that felt different. Some of these things were things that like, you really wouldn't necessarily feel from a demo setting.
Okay.
But some of them I did. Like I remember like one of the things last year that I felt was like just immediately it was like, oh, this guy, walks really fast or whatever, and it just to this point where like it felt like almost like unnatural robotic.
Yeah.
And actually that's one of the things that they worked on through this past year was like just improving the locomotion and the exploration aspect of just walking around the planet and stuff. Another thing that they really kind of worked on was, and a lot of this is in the interview too, but was really like honing in on the balance of that sense of like time pressure and stuff, because you do have this like kind of like sun chasing you down, and like if the base doesn't get on the roads after a certain amount of time, you're gonna die, and so you got to get off of this stupid planet. But they didn't want people to feel rushed. Right, and they wanted people to experience the story and spend time with the altars and the characters. And so now it's like each act kind of has like sort of 3 different phases, and like the amount of days that you have doesn't change. It's just the way they're presented to you. Whereas like when the act first starts up, it's like, yeah, the sun's far away. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And then there's like, I guess there's a period of time where it's like, okay, the sun is starting to get close, and then there's another period of time where it's like, you have this many days to get out of there, right? But yeah, I mean, it's hard to even know where to start with this game, because it is such an interesting blend of things, because, I am not a survival based building kind of guy, right? Like I'm not like super into like a No Man's Sky or Valheim or that kind of thing. It's like if I pick it up and play it and start getting into it, it's like it's fine.
It's
but
a
I don't
very specific flavor.
It doesn't normally pull me in, right?
Yeah.
But the Altars pulls me in because it blends in these other things. And this is the same team that did This War Is Mine, right? So I know you're a fan of that.
Big fan.
Yeah.
Big fan of that game.
And so it blends in these story elements and these adventure elements. So it's sort of like it's part of that resource gathering, base building kind of gameplay. But then you also have this relationship side of things, that it's a lot more like a Life is Strange or something, or like a Detroit Becomes Human kind of thing, where it's like you've got these choices to make. You've got to build, relationship and keep people happy and try like manage people's mood.
Yeah.
As well as like recruit people that are going to be efficient for what you want to do with your base.
Yeah. Get along with each other.
Yeah. And then there's also, apparently there are some pretty big decisions along the way, and there's multiple endings for where things can go.
Yeah.
And then the other part I like is just exploring each of these levels, because it's not like a big just wide open world kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're more like sprawling.
Like here's a big map.
Yeah, it's
here's
like
a big map.
Work your way through here, find a pocket of resources, and then kind of like build your like your your like power lines essentially back to the base.
Oh.
So like you got a mining platform over here, you connect it to the base, and then you can use that as a fast travel point.
Yeah.
But then you can also assign one of your altars to like work that mining platform, you
Nice.
know, and then you
Yeah.
can go to it and charge your battery. And I think like one of the really cool things about this, and they showed the beginning of day 2, they actually showed like the early development process, and they actually like developed the gameplay systems on like paper first, like with cards and stuff like that, like almost like a board game.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is how this works, and this is how these resources works, and like they got all the gameplay stuff down before they even really started building a lot of this
That's
other.
so fun.
But yeah, so it's like I should at least get to this point because I've been talking about it for like 5 minutes or whatever. If you're not familiar with the altars, the idea of this game is that you took this job to go on this like mining expedition on this like far out planet.
Mm-hmm.
You get there, the rest of the crew is dead. You
Classic.
get out of your capsule. You
Crew
go up to
expendable.
the captain's capsule, the captain is dead. You get up to another vista point, you look out, all these other capsules, you can see red, like you're
Everyone's
the
dead.
only one left.
Holy crap.
And the base is one of the coolest things.
Yeah, it's the like giant circular.
It's a giant
it's
wheel
so cool.
with like a bunch of like modular
So
cabins
cool.
inside of it. And you get in there and like even the comms aren't really working, so you're not even sure who you're talking to and stuff. And then after, a few story beats or whatever, you learn like, so this planet that you went to, they're looking for this almost mythical element called rupidium.
Got it. Unobtainium.
Right. And what rupidium allows you to do is to use this like quantum computer and this thing called the womb to create doubles of yourself. So first you test it out, you create a sheep named Molly.
So sketch.
And then you can
Multiplicity.
You can go through the timeline of your history and do these what if scenarios and create alternate branching timelines of like, what if you stayed home and protected your mom instead of going to college? What if you backed up your wife and this? And each one of these little branches creates a different career path for you. And that's why you kind of need it. So you start off, it's like, the base is busted.
Yeah, you got it.
You don't know how to fix it, so you need a technician. So you find the life path that is going to produce a technician. Mm-hmm. But then, when this dude comes out of the womb, you got to explain to him what you did. And all of these emotional bubbles are popping up, and he is not happy about
like,
this.
What the hell is this?
But that's one of the crazy things, because the actor that plays every Jan Dolsky is his name. Alex Jordan, he was there. He was like one of us, right alongside the developers, just talking to everybody, hanging out with everybody. And he plays 11 different versions
That's so cool.
of the same character.
Yeah.
With different kind of temperaments, and like this guy kind of talks more like a jock, and this guy kind of talks like a surfer dude a little bit, and this guy's this gruff, miner or whatever.
So cool.
And so there's a couple of the altars that are like fairly locked in place. Like you need that technician right away, and then you need the scientist to like research new upgrades and like explain like what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's kind of on you to figure out. It's like, do you want a botanist to help grow food? Do you want a worker to like craft things more quickly? Do you want a miner to help mine things more quickly?
Yeah.
But these characters all come with like, again, those different life experiences and stuff. So like the botanist, he pops out and like one of the first things he wants to know is like, how is my wife doing? Yeah. And it's like, for you, it's your ex-wife.
Yeah. And can you lie to them as well? Like,
yeah. I mean, there's
cool.
times where like guys will have arguments and you have to pick a side. There are times where guys will struggle with things and you've got to kind of like try to set them straight or not,
Can you kill someone?
I don't know about kill, but there were other people at the event that lost someone.
Wow.
And then they had to deal with that. Okay. Like the other guys were like, okay, we have to have a funeral now or whatever. Or like, it is wild.
Yeah, this sounds so ambitious. And it also sounds like it works.
It worked. And there's a thing that I was a little bit surprised afterwards. They're like, you can't talk about this because I'm like, we spent a fair amount of time explaining how this whole thing worked and all the development and everybody's parts, and like, okay, we got to save that.
Dang.
But it is just so you know, when you see it, you will understand, because it's like the transition between like Act 1 and Act 2, and it's funny because they kind of told us everything about it before we actually got to experience.
Yeah.
But it's like once I actually experience, it's like, oh yeah, this is it. This is yeah. So it definitely is a moment. Yeah.
Cool.
And it'll be really cool to talk about it and everything that went behind it.
Yeah.
But the other thing that was like really hitting me kind of like later on is just the way all of these things play into each other so well. Because like a lot of the times, like, you know, so like at first, like your base is just busted. So to get out of the prologue, you got to build and get out. Then you get a little further in Act 1, it's like, okay, there's just a huge lava river in front of you.
Yeah.
So you've got to like explore and investigate and craft things to get past the lava river. And then like similarly, like the next thing, there's this big weird anomaly that like you're in a canyon, you can't go around it. You got to figure out how to get up there. And so, or how to get past it. And so like you have these kind of like story things that happen where it's like, okay, we've got to get past this thing. In order to get past this thing, first we got to like set this sensor up on top of the canyon wall. It's like, okay, well, how are we going to get on top of the canyon wall? It's like, oh, well, you're going to need to upgrade your grappling hook. And it's like, okay, to upgrade your grappling hook, then you need to like set up some mining. So like all of this stuff feeds back into each other.
Yeah, like Dave the Diver.
And then again, like each of your altars has their different specialties. And so it's like, okay, this guy, like, and what was nice is when we got, because we, you know, there wasn't enough time for us to get through all of Act 1 just naturally, so they just skipped us ahead to Act 2. And when they skipped us ahead to Act 2, they gave each of us different save files with different sets of altars. So it was nice to go from like, okay, this is what I was playing with, this is the hand I was playing with essentially in Act 1, and then now to see is like, because before, like, just looking at it on a chart, I was like, I don't know why I'd want a worker. I don't know why I'd want a refiner. That doesn't sound as cool as a botanist. Right?
Yeah, I love a botanist. The Expanse.
But then it's like, oh, okay, I see the value of this in terms of, like, the function and the utility of it, as well as they're just a different character.
Yeah.
And that's another neat thing, too, is that when you're out there exploring the world, you can find basically like when all these escape pods and stuff crash down, a lot of your stuff crashed in different places as well. So like you'll find like one of your suitcases like, oh, here's my rubber ducky and my lava lamp.
Love that.
And those things will mean a little bit more to one version of yourself than another. So you give them like a persona style. You give them a gift.
Yeah.
And you increase your bond with that character. But then some of them will also ask for certain modules, because that's the other part of this is like you're building your base in that wheel.
You only have so much room.
So when you start off, it's like, okay, you just have the basic functions, but then it's like, okay, well, you need to build a kitchen.
Yeah.
You need to build a dormitory so that like people aren't resenting you for being the only person on this thing with a bed.
Yeah.
But then you have other things that you can or may not build. There's like there's a social room, which I think a social room might be a little bit more like necessary, but in there it's like you can play this beer pong mini game with the other altars.
So fun.
And some of them are better at it and others are worse, and apparently they like the more you play with a specific one, the better they'll get.
That's awesome.
But then there's also in those suitcases that you find, the cargo drops, you'll find DVDs.
No way.
And so you can watch movies
together
God,
that's
after
so cozy.
the work is done.
So cozy.
Each day. And at first, Huber, I didn't realize that like you could actually watch it. I thought it was just going to be a thing that you like push a button and you get points or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, like they actually
Here's
show
a short film.
like a film, like an actual FMV film.
Yes.
And I didn't get the full story behind this. Somebody else might have this info, but I think that like they partnered with some YouTube channel or something like that where they could use some of them. I don't know the full story behind the films.
Yeah.
But the one that I watched was like basically Among Us. It was like live action Among Us.
Yeah.
And some other people suggested like it's like the thing. It's like no, it's really it's very specifically more like Among Us. But like so like all these people pointing fingers and I think you're the alien. I think they're the alien and all this kind of thing. Well, there's like one person that looks very obviously like the alien.
It's fun. That's so great.
But you get a social boost from that. And that's one of the things that's kind of nice too, is that like every day you have like, so many hours of energy. And so like when you're doing like a task like mining, rather than just like sitting there waiting through like a slow thing, like when you're on like the mining station, it speeds up time.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's still going to take a certain amount of time, but it's not going to be like real world time, right? So you just speed up this action. And then you get to a certain part of the day and it's like, you got to go back inside. But when you go back inside, you still have like a little bit of time to kill. So you can do some jobs that are inside the base.
Sounds addicting.
But that's the thing too, is like, you need to manage all the inside the base stuff too, because everybody needs to eat.
Yeah.
So in order to eat,
everyone needs to relax.
You need to like have somebody cooking meals. Well, in order to have the good meals and not just a bunch of mush, you need to invest in that greenhouse and get some good food. But in order for the good food to grow, you need to get organics from outside. All of the stuff plays into each other. So it's like when you just say it like all really quick, it feels kind of overwhelming. But it's just one of those things where it's like, you just kind of like get into the rhythm of it and learn to keep everybody active and like, okay, this thing's breaking down, get a worker on it, get the technician on it or whatever. Another thing that's really, really nice about all of that is that when somebody is done with a job, like say you've got the scientist researching some new upgrades for something, he'll be like, hey, I'm done with that. Do you want me to do this next?
Smart.
And so you can just click that button and instantly have him do the thing that he's suggesting.
Yeah.
Or you can go into your menu and like assign him to a different job if you want to have him do something different.
Seems very streamlined.
But that's one of the things. It's like
quality of life.
You can go to any of those stations and just like queue up a bunch of work. And then when somebody's done with a job and they go over there, then they can go and tackle that
shift
queue.
Click.
And then there's some other stuff that we get into in the Act 1 business that I was not expecting on the exploration side. And there's not like enemies out in the world. Instead, they have these threats that are called anomalies. And there's like these gravitational bubble
sounds very Remedy
kind of things. Yeah, and so like at first it's like you can just kind of barely see them or whatever, and you just have to like try to like walk your way around them. What they compare them to is stalker.
Yeah.
You kind of have like this kind of like this. Those zones where it's like you can't quite see it, but it's sort of there.
Yeah, those things are annoying as hell.
But partway into Act 1, you get this thing called like the Luminator, and that uses some of the energy from your backpack. You can like focus in, and like each of those anomalies has a core. And so when you hold the Luminator up to it, then you can like kind of like shine the light on the core until basically the bubble pops.
Nice.
And so you can start taking them out that way. But as you get into Act 2 and you get further into the game, other types of anomalies start popping up. And so there's some that will like follow you, and there's some that will like get really big and then get really small, and I don't want to go through every one, but yeah, so like that's another thing is like
it's cool. It changes up.
You get out there and you find new anomalies, and then you got to talk to the scientist and like, hey, dude, I saw this and this, and he kind of interprets the data you report from him.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think about what else is going on there. Definitely. Once you fix the comms and you're talking back to the corporation, there's a lot of great.
Wayland.
There's a lot of great like dialogue back and forth you can have there of like how much information do you want to give them? How much do you want to trust them? How much do you want to fight back about what they're saying to you? You know, and like your ex-wife is one of the people at the corporation, but like she's like, oh, she wants to make sure you're doing well, but then she immediately starts asking about the Rapidium, and it's like, oh, you found it? You know, it's like,
Dude.
And they're like, well, well, before we get a rescue mission out there, or while you're there, you like. It still would be best for you to get as much as rupidium as possible. You know, get it all that you can. And so, like, you start unraveling, what their goals are and like what kind of secrets they're hiding.
Xenomorphs.
All. There's a board out there that might not be happy with things. But yeah, it all feels pretty good. I'm trying to think. One thing that like they didn't tell me necessarily not to spoil, but like I definitely would not spoil. It's like I got into some stuff where it's like, oh, we're going to have to deal with this
Definitely.
now. Like, okay, there's some stuff that we're going to have to figure this out, like ticking clock kind of,
Yeah.
you know. And,
Nice.
and as you start going through these conversations, it just brings up questions in your own head too.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what if we have 6 yawns and we get rescued? What then?
Yeah, what then?
What is life like for
6 of
these
us,
dudes
yeah.
who have memories that are not real, that have jobs that are not real?
Such a cool premise,
You know,
yeah.
it's like,
So excellent. Reminds me of a few movies I won't spoil for sure.
yeah, it really is grabbing me, and I'm glad that we got to get a deeper dive into it this time. I don't think I think I'm sort of mentioned this, but like sometimes they'll ask you to build certain types of modules. So
Got
like
it.
you have the social room, but then this one guy is like, you know, it'd be good if like we weren't just sitting on our butt watching movies all the time,
Yeah.
and like can
Swap
we
it out
get
or-
a gym?
Yeah.
And so he wants a gym, but then other people are like, this is a waste of our resources,
Mm-hmm.
And like who you're gonna please, who you're gonna side with,
It's like
are
Mafia
you gonna,
3.
you know? But I think on some level, it's like a light kind of side questy kind of thing. It's like the more that you go down a path with a certain altar, the more you're going to learn
Yeah.
about them and get to know them, and they have
Playing favorites.
their own stories. Exactly. Designing like new tools and stuff is really fun. Figuring out, you know, like one of the things I really liked in Act 2 is they really kind of play with the level design, so things aren't like entirely straightforward, right? So it's like, okay, there's a resource over here in this area, but you have to think a little bit more in order to figure out like how to get that funneled back to the ship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's like, okay, this cave is too small for the pylon that you need to build. So it's like, okay, I got to kind of go over here and then connect it to this other thing.
Problem solving.
And again, like every one of those pieces of equipment that you make takes resources, takes up storage in your base. So you got to think about like what is
Love
the most
inventory
efficient
management.
way for me to like get all of those power lines to kind of connect and not
Yeah.
use too many resources and stuff.
Jenga.
Yeah. I know that they're saying there's 11 altars, but you can't have all of them in one run.
Okay.
I don't know what the maximum might be. I want to say it'd probably be between like 5 and 7, maybe 8.
Okay.
But I never found that answer or whatever.
Hard cuts.
Yeah. And then, the other thing I really liked was that the Act 2 was very different looking than the prologue
Love
and
that.
Act 1.
Love
so like
that.
prologue and Act 1 were like more night, like very dark. It's all rocky, but like it was very dark environments and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas like Act 2 is like, okay, it's brighter,
Yeah.
kind of like dusty canyon feel, and it's just like,
Cool.
even though it's still rocks, it's like very different
Yeah.
looking, you know?
It's essential. You gotta
yeah.
change the scenery.
Yeah. So, and it's not far away. So that's the one. If anything worries me, it's the release timing is being like June 13th,
Yeah.
like right on top
SGF
of Summer Game
days.
Fest.
People
A lot
get
of
hyped though. I feel like
Yeah.
game sales rise around then. You know, people just want to play good games. So
But definitely looking forward to it, and hope I can get some time in with it.
Same.
Probably after Summer Game Fest,
yeah,
to be honest.
I
but
really love the premise and everything we've seen for a while. I've really been intrigued by this one for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching that. We've got some other previews that went up this week. So check out Huber's Liza P. Overture preview, as well as some Sega stuff coming to Switch 2. And we've got Hell's Us preview coming up next week as well. We are Easy Allies. If you like this, check out our podcast every week and go to patreon.com/Easy Allies to support us, because we are funded by people just like you. So get over there, drop in $5 a month. Keep all of this happening. And we'll see you in those other previews, and we'll see you at Summer Game Fest.